Hi, you. It's me, Nicole Phoenix Star, and this is the Next Star podcast. I have such a funny experience of the polarity of mothering, and I really noticed it this week because, I have been a young mama. I mean, I was 25 when I was pregnant with my eldest, Ruby, and had her when I was 26. So it's young-ish, No, not a teen mum or anything, but youngish. And then being an old mama, having had Leo when I was 14 and a half. And how that plays out as they grow. And like, it's really quite interesting as I'm currently on hardcore school drop-off pickups. And I remember back when I used to be the young mama and I used to drive into school pickup in my convertible with my music probably a lot louder than anyone else in the car park. And I used to grab the kids and throw them into the back of the car. Didn't really use doors a lot, or they would just climb over the back of it into their car seats, and I would lock them in. And I remember, having this constant glare of a mix of envy and judgment. And I used to think about it a lot more than I probably needed to. But, back in those days, I used to pick the children up, I don't know, probably 60, 70% of the time when I was co-parenting. And because I would have them 4 days and he would have them 3 days. And then I'd have them 5 days and he'd have them 2 days. And then I'd have some 4 days and he'd have them 3 days following his roster. And that would rotate different days every week. It was never the same days. And so, yeah. And just what that was like. And now I haven't done a school pickup like this for some years. Because since being in Australia, Leo's caught the bus, and the last, 18 months were in Bali. Leo used to catch his own motorcycle taxis to and from school. And before that, I would just drop him off and his nanny would bring him home. So doing school drop-off and school pickup 34 kilometres away, 30-ish minute drive each way 4 times a day, predominantly on a motorcycle. I am the only parent that drops off school on a motorcycle. And I ride in and get a lot of stares in my biker outfits and no music. But quite the presence. I get a lot of stares. Haven't said any judgment, have seen some envy, but also just a lot of kids waving and a lot of parents just looking. So I think about these two different experiences because I was in the supermarket the other day and there was just a whole heap of mums with their young kids, ranging probably between about 3 and 7. And so, when you see mums in the supermarket with children, you have this like unspoken mother code going on. And, although Leo's 11, it wasn't that long ago that he was sitting in a trolley. Yet I look at these mothers and they're actually all, this day that I noticed, were more my daughter's age. Who is now 26. And I was like, oh, right. They're looking at me as if I'm their mother, not that we are mothers in arms. And I was like, oh, right. This is such a funny thing. And I don't know, like, I remember back when the big kids were little and I've always worn kind of not so subtle outfits in all different genres and guises, and I've always stood out. And I don't know, like, it's just a funny thing catching up with Thailand's, and not that it means anything because, I only believe that age is roll call on how long you show up to class at Earth School. It means nothing about feelings or even experience or intelligence or wisdom. Age does not have a consistent frame of reference to any of those things other than it's just how many days you're turned up in class at Earth School. So yeah, I don't know, like it was really amusing when I was riding to school pickup this afternoon because I've been kind of grappling with the separation of not enjoying this time on the road, which kind of most of the time is about 2.5 hours out of my day, half an hour in the morning, and then you kind of get to school and, he gets off and takes off his jacket and puts his helmet in and then grabs his bag and have a conversation. And then by the time, I get back on the bike and get out of the school line back onto the road, and the same in the afternoon, it's closer to 2.5 hours, and we've only got 4 weeks left of doing it, but there's been times where I've been in fierce separation of what is and kind of resenting it and not enjoying it and using that as part of my spiritual practice. So every time I hop on the bike, now where I'm by myself, I have a little conversation about that I get to do this. And let's kind of work on our riding skills through the windy hinterland roads. And I get into the zone, one with a bike, one with a road. And, I always talk about motorcycle meditations. And rather than, allowing the thoughts to spin around on a loop of how annoying this is, I very intentionally have now been using that time to come back to the original practice of when I was learning to be an energy master, and at 5 o'clock would hop on my bike and go into the streets of Denpasar and practice becoming one with the bike, one with the road, one with the energy field, and, moving traffic and kind of working on the energy mastery skills that I was learning in the temple and on the holy beach. And I also, I don't know, I've been playing with fuel economy, and I've been playing with different ways of maneuvering the bike. I mean, I'm a pretty skilled rider. I've been riding motorcycles fairly fiercely since I was 8 years old. But yeah, utilizing the time out of the slippery slope of resenting school pickup, and I keep reminding myself, that in a few short months Lee will be at boarding school and my full-time mothering will become very part-time, and it's been a very long time since that's been my reality, and just allowing that to really drop in. I'm really looking forward to him going to boarding school, but there's also this oh goodness, that's really an end of an era and of a little one. I mean, I had to measure his head today for his school hat. So he got me to measure him, and he's 177 centimeters, which is 5'9.5". He's like, I'm almost 5'10". I'm like, yeah, I'm centimeters off from 6 foot, and I'm just like, yeah, you might even step into year 7 at 6 foot at this stage. I'm not game to buy him uniforms yet, because God knows what'll happen over the summer. He hasn't peaked puberty hormones in, therefore, growth spurt in any form whatsoever. So yeah, I don't know, it's such a funny classroom, this mothering classroom that we have here at our school, and chop wood, carry water of the mundane duties of Groundhog Day, and how slippery those can be, even to mastered ones like myself. So yeah, really becoming more aware. I was really quite depleted from all this travel, which I didn't take into account until I got my whoop, and how much strain was happening on my rides and how much energy was being chewed up. And then still running around doing all the things, and I kind of hit a bit of a wall, and I couldn't work out what was going on until it became glaringly obvious. So yeah, adjusting that a bit, and the next couple of weeks are end of year super busy, and primary school graduations and high school presentations, and all the things. So, yeah, been having a big deep dive into the experience of being a young mama and a old mama. It's really, and there's a lot more older ones now as people have been having babies older and kind of extended IVF and things like that. They're more of us mature people in the parent-teacher situations. But yeah, there's still a lot of young ones. I know it's funny looking at young parents and going, okay, so where are you at? Seeing people in their 30s, people in their 40s, and yeah, just going, right. Spending over a decade out of Australia as well. And kind of missing a whole generation of people becoming parents. I don't know, it's just fascinating. But yeah, such a range to experience, such a range to feel, such a range of richness to have. And I'm very grateful that I get to do it all. And when I forget, I'm very good at reminding myself. So there you go. That's the Nick Star podcast this week. Thank you so much for listening. I am so grateful. My website is www.nickstar.com. Much love. Mwah.